Divers are coming face to face with unspeakable horrors from the depths of the ocean, from bizarre unidentified creatures off the coast of Hawaii to the chilling discovery of ancient bones belonging to a monstrous leviathan in the depths of the Mediterranean Sea. The stories you're about to hear will make you question if you'll ever be brave enough to go swimming in the ocean again. It was the summer of 2002 when Dylan's life was changed forever. His family and him had decided to take a long-awaited vacation to Hawaii, a beautiful, lush tropical paradise with warm sun, crystal-clear waters, and stunning landscapes. Dylan and his family could not have asked for a better destination. But upon their arrival, it didn't take long before they quickly settled in to their hotel situation. And wouldn't you know it, they were situated right by the famous Waikiki beach. In fact, the view from their balcony was all but breathtaking, endless azure ocean stretching out beyond the horizon, framed by swaying palm trees all along the sandy shores. It was a picturesque vacation. Dylan was already an avid swimmer and occasional snorkeler, so this wouldn't be his first time in the water. So without wasting another second, he donned his swimsuits and sunscreen and made his way down to the beach. Now, once Dylan was down there, his brother and sister, both with him, had all excitedly grabbed their rented snorkeling gear and would dive headfirst into the waves. And they're having the best time of their life, exploring the vibrant world beneath the surface, marveling at the abundance of brightly colored fish moving about and the amazing coral formations teeming with life. In fact, they were there for probably 30 minutes before fatigue began to set in. Dylan's siblings decide to head back to shore to rest, but Dylan feels compelled to continue on exploring, just going a little further out. And he even admits that curiosity propelled him further away from the crowded beaches and out towards the deeper, less frequented reefs. Now, at this point, the sun had started its descent, and the sky was starting to change. And suddenly, without warning, something brushed up right against his leg and moved past him with a surprising speed. Now, this startled Dylan almost immediately, and he whirled around to catch a glimpse of what it could have been. Now, before I go on to describe what he described, he would later state that whatever this was that had brushed up against him felt large, and he thought it was either his brother or sister, or potentially another diver, which is why he was taken aback and whirled around to look. But when he did, he was beyond surprised because what he was looking at defied explanation. Now, he would describe it as a type of human fish creature, akin to the legendary mermaid, but it didn't look like your typical Disney princess mermaid. This was something else entirely. But he claims that it had a shimmering tail with a swift undulation that would propel it out of sight. Dylan's claim is that it had only been mere moments after this figure disappeared in the water before about 2 or 3 more of them appeared behind some coral reefs heading in his direction. Now, this is when Dylan got a good look and described them as having black eyes, grotesque features, and looking somewhat like a fish crossed with a human gone wrong. Dylan immediately turns around and swims back to shore with all his strength and might, with these creatures gaining on him. This is where Dylan counts himself very lucky because as he's going back in the direction of the beach, there was a rather large group of snorkelers heading the exact direction where he was coming from. And they weren't that far away, and they were being boisterous and noisy, clearly excited and vocal to go into those same reefs that Dylan was just at. Now, Dylan says that this is why he believes that these things did not chase him further, and he was successful in making it back to shore. As far as he's concerned, That group of divers didn't see or make any noise or any inkling that they saw what Dylan did. He did not end up telling his brother, sister, or mother about what he had experienced, but for the rest of that vacation, he didn't really feel like snorkeling anymore. Now, Dylan's story is very interesting because it leads us into today's video. A marine biologist, security consultant, and cryptozoologist named Bruce A. Champagne had been fascinated by these strange, mysterious creatures. And in fact, his passion for the unknown had led him to become a member of the British Columbia Scientific Cryptozoology Club, where he would set out to unravel the mysteries of the ocean. Now here, Bruce embarked on an ambitious journey to collect and analyze information about sea serpents and sea monsters. In fact, he scoured over 1,200 accounts from over 118 sources, including but not limited to personal communications, text, journal articles, field reports, television and news accounts, newspapers, and the web. Bruce had one goal in mind, and that was to create a comprehensive classification system to help make sense of these extraordinary creatures. Now, as Bruce would dive deeper into his research, he became much more familiar with the Uvelman's classification system proposed by the great cryptozoologist Bernard Uvelmans. Now, specifically, the Uvelman system would focus on familiar types of sea serpents, like eel-like, snake-like, saurian, long-necked, multiple-humped, and sail-finned varieties. But Bruce's own findings led him to propose a new system, much like of what Dylan encountered. Now, Bruce would call this the Champagne system. And the Champagne system had 9 categories of sea serpents, some with their own subcategories. It in fact acknowledged the more well-known types of the Uvelman system, but Bruce made a startling discovery. You see, there was a category of sea serpent that didn't quite fit any of the existing classifications. It was here he would name this category digitid. The digitid sea serpents were unlike anything anyone had ever encountered. They appeared to be some sort of aquatic primate or lizard with slightly humanoid features. But what truly set them apart were their human-like hands. In fact, this bizarre creature seemed to defy all logic and understanding. In the spring of 1910, when I was in command of the Caesar battleship, steaming towards the Clyde and between the coasts of Ireland and the Isle of Man, I was on the bridge in broad daylight when a creature leapt out of the water close to the ship and shot straight up into the air about 40 or 50 feet. And came down spread eagle fashion. It had the appearance of a chameleon, though shorter in proportion, and was about the size of the skinned chow dogs one sees hanging outside the butcher shop of Canton. Now, I called the navigating officer from the standard compass, and as he got to my side, the creature leapt again, and we both had a good look at it. In shape, it reminded me of a chameleon, though a shortened one. The head and short tail also had a chameleon-like appearance. It did not have scales, but rather the shiny skin of a reptile. Its feet seemed like the claws one sees represented in figures of Chinese dragons. This extraordinary creature was said to be around 4 feet in length, with a prehensile tail and a chameleon-like head adorned with large eyes and powerful, sharp teeth. Its skin was scaleless, tough, and ranged in color from pink to red or brown. But the most striking feature of the digitid sea serpent was its 4 human-like limbs, each ending in 3 to 5 fingers with opposable digits. Now, some accounts described these digits as resembling a human thumb, while others likened them to the unique arrangement of chameleons. And in fact, one of the most intriguing reports was uncovered from 1910, and it involved the Royal Navy vessel Caesar. Now, the ship was sailing off the coast of Ireland in the Irish Sea when Royal Navy officer A. Robert Hamilton Anstruther and another crew member witnessed an astonishing sight. Because as they gazed out across the water, they would spot a creature that matched the description of the elusive digited sea serpent. And with attempts at trying to identify the elusive digited creature, Anstruther approached the scientific community with hope and sincerity. He believed that sharing his strange encounter could potentially lead to the discovery of this same creature. But instead of receiving the support and interest he had hoped for, he was met with scorn and ridicule. Even though renowned figures like Bernard Heuvelmans and the esteemed writer Arthur Conan Doyle briefly took an interest in the case, the digited sea serpent story soon faded into obscurity. Now, years would go by and the elusive creature remained just that, a mystery, until a fateful day in 1967 when another remarkable sighting would take place. An officer of the Maritime Police was patrolling the waters near the estuary of Rio Salado in Argentina's Buenos Aires province, and as he made his way through the tidal wetland known as the Bahia de San Barramban, he caught sight of a strange creature in the water. Now, armed with his rifle, the officer managed to actually kill the beast and would bring it to shore. But to his astonishment, he found that the creature was spindly bodied, around 800 kilograms, with dorsal fins from the hands ending in 4 clawed digits. Its cow-like head sported large canine teeth, further adding to the creature's bizarre appearance. Now, Champagne, upon learning of this new account, began to formulate more theories about the creature's identity. Now, he speculated that it might be some sort of sea-going reptile, an unknown species that had managed to remain hidden from human eyes. Now, to date, there has only ever been one other creature that could be counted in the digited category. Now, this elusive cryptid hailed from a small patch of reclaimed land called Canvey Island, nestled within the lonely Thames estuary of Essex, England. Measuring a mere 7.12 square miles, this island has seen its share of history, having been inhabited since the Roman invasion of Britain. It had even been a thriving, fast-growing seaside resort between 1911 and 1951, until a massive flood in 1953 led to its abandonment. Now today, Canvey Island is a parish with a population of around 38,000, and it holds its fair share of folklore and ghost stories. One of the most peculiar tales to emerge from this very place involves a series of strange carcasses that washed ashore and became known as the Canvey Island Monsters. In November of 1953, a bizarre carcass was discovered on that very beach, and the creature was unlike anything the island's residents had ever encountered before. It was described as being somewhat frog-like, measuring around 2.5 feet long, with 5-toed horseshoe-shaped feet and legs that suggested it had been capable of walking. However, it had no forelimbs. The creature also had thick, reddish-brown skin, bulging eyes, gills, and a formidable, gaping maw filled with a myriad of sharp razor teeth. The outlandish creature caused quite a stir at this time, and a resident by the name of Colin Day found himself captivated by this mysterious creature that had appeared on the very shores of this island. The carcass was actually subjected to only a cursory examination, after which it was deemed harmless. The zoologist who had been called in to investigate it decided to cremate this creature without making any firm identification. It seemed as though the story would end there, but fate actually had other plans, because the following year, in 1954, another one of these strange creatures would wash up on the shores of Canvey Island. But this time, it was discovered bobbing around in a tidal pool by Reverend Joseph Overs as he strolled along the beach with his own children. And he would later describe the creature as a sort of fish with staring eyes and a large mouth underneath. It has 2 perfect feet, each with 5 pink toes. Now, remarkably similar to the first mystery creature, this one was considerably larger, measuring over 4 feet. Now, upon examination, it was found to have rubbery pinkish skin like that of a pig, and clearly having clawed feet arranged in a U shape with a concave center arch. Now, despite the odd nature of the find, once again it was shrugged off and the carcass was conveniently disposed of, leaving everyone to wonder about the true nature of this strange creature. But this specific story would gain notoriety when it was featured in the book Stranger Than Science by a paranormal researcher and radio personality, a Mr. Frank Edwards. Now, he took some scarce news reports from the same era and played up the enigmatic aspects of the tale, as was his penchant, emphasizing the monster angle and making it seem more mysterious than it perhaps truly was. What's interesting is that even in modern times, many people believe the carcass of the Canvey Island monster was perhaps merely misidentified large specimens of anglerfish or monkfish, because these fish undeniably bear a resemblance to the exact descriptions of the mysterious creature. But given the scarcity of photographic evidence and the absence of any real preserved bodies, the debate and discussion continue to this day. I mean, a few photos supposedly taken of the Canvey Island monster does remain unverified. There's a popular image which appears to show an anglerfish, has never been conclusively proven to depict the actual carcass in question. In fact, photos that were allegedly taken of the corpse, none have been authenticated, adding another layer of mystery to the case. Now, to this day, the Canvey Island monster still remains a mystery. Imagine this. You make a discovery so mind-blowing that even experts are left scratching their heads. We live in a world where the public can easily be fooled by politicians, car salespeople, or even CGI, so it's quite the challenge to deceive those who are authorities on a particular subject. So when you have videos like this that clearly show an unknown skeleton resting at the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea, and even renowned authorities on the subject declare that they cannot identify it, this is when curiosity really begins to stir. Deborah Hatswell, founder of the Being Believed Research and Investigations Group, admitted that she has no idea what this video could be of when it was sent to her by a remote-operated vehicle operator who worked for the oil industry. This was taken in the Mediterranean Sea and was filmed back in 2017. And apparently, because of COVID and other work complications, it made interviewing this specific individual nearly impossible. Now remember that Hatswell is an expert in the field and has great confidence in the witness's experience with diving and ROV operations. This background lends credibility to his description of the long spine seen in the video and his assertion that it's definitely not a whale or anything else he's ever encountered before. Hatswell elaborates on this unique feature and the creature's spine. Now, a whale skeleton has 3 blades on its spinal bones, each spaced roughly 120 degrees apart. But this creature appears to have only 2. Now, as the story unfolds, the witness would share his own opinion. Could this be the remains of a 30-meter-long sea serpent? It is important to recall that the Mediterranean Sea is steeped in ancient tales of sea serpents and monsters, and stories reaching as far back as Homer's Odyssey, Aristotle, and of course the Hebrew Bible, or Leviathan. The region is also rich in dragon myths and folklore. I mean, it's not too far-fetched to imagine a flying dragon falling into the sea and coming to rest on the ocean floor. While sightings of sea serpents and dragons in the Mediterranean have become rare in modern times, this ROV operator emphasizes that the bones appear to be ancient. The only Mediterranean whale large enough to be a possibility is the sperm whale. But the problem here is their length does not exceed 60 feet. Hatswell, however, presents the evidence that supports the conclusion that these are not whale bones. So what could this video possibly be showing? As for now, the bones remain inconclusive. It's no secret that California is already home to many strange and paranormal things, but nestled just south of the bustling city of San Francisco and San Jose, the picturesque Monterey Bay offers its own share of strange mysteries. Renowned for its exceptional marine biodiversity, quaint towns, abundant wildlife, and yes, breathtaking natural vistas, Monterey Bay attracts scientists and tourists alike throughout the year. Yet, unbeknownst to many, there are whispers of something far more strange lurking beneath the bay's serene surface. Now, since the early 1900s, sailors and fishermen navigating the waters of Monterey Bay have all shared tales of an elusive sea monster known more commonly as Bobo, or the Old Man of the Sea. It's this creature that is often described as a massive seal-like being with a strikingly human or simian face. It's captivated those who have claimed to see it. In fact, one of the earliest accounts of such sightings will date back to 1922, when a fisherman named Sal Coletto would find himself aboard a 45-foot sardine fishing rig called the Dante Alighieri. Positioned near Monterey Bay, just off the coast of Moss Landing, Coletto spotted something unusual bobbing in the water. Initially mistaking it for debris or even a man adrift at sea, he drew closer to investigate. And as Coletto approached, it became very clear that this was no ordinary piece of float sim or hapless swimmer. Instead, he found himself face to face with a mysterious marine creature boasting a head the size of a 50-gallon barrel, a duck-like bill, and a prominent, bulging forehead. Now, for the longest time, Coletto kept his extraordinary encounter a closely guarded secret. However, fate would have more in store for him, because in 1938, while navigating the same waters as his first sighting, Coletto found himself once again in the presence of a mysterious sea monster. This time, his brother-in-law accompanied him aboard their boat, confirming that what he saw was not just a figment of his imagination. And as they sailed along, the two men spotted something unusual bobbing in the waves. Now, driven by curiosity, they steered their boat closer to investigate this anomaly. And as they came within about 50 feet of the object, they realized that it was a sea creature unlike anything they had ever seen. The massive being, as long as their 45-foot boat, was covered in thick, wrinkled brown skin. But the most astonishing detail was its face, which they said resembled a monkey or an old man. Now, remarkably, the creature seemed entirely oblivious to their presence, floating on its back with its eyes closed as if it were sleeping or simply basking in the sun. Now, this moment was short-lived as the creature suddenly opened its large pink eyes, fixing the startled crew with an intense stare. And without warning, it let out a loud snort and vanished beneath the calm waters, leaving Coletto and his brother-in-law in awe of what they had just witnessed. It wasn't long before he had soon become obsessed with what he had encountered, dedicating himself to uncovering the secrets. And despite his relentless pursuit, Coletto never managed to witness this creature again. But his story did resonate with others in the area, and soon more and more reports began to emerge. Fishermen and boaters alike sailing through the same water started sharing their own tales of strange sightings. Now, these accounts often described a creature with a very long body, fins or flippers, and a humanoid or ape-like face that looked remarkably sad or forlorn. Some even claimed that the creature had a mane of red hair encircling its head. And in one particular incident from 1939, the fishermen aboard the albacore fishing boat, the Santa Ana, found themselves confronted by a similar mystery. Because as they navigated through Monterey Bay, they stumbled upon what initially appeared to be a massive log floating in the water. They were intrigued by this, so they poked the object with a fishing gaff, only to discover that it was in fact a colossal seal-like beast. It was said to be 50 times larger than an elephant seal and bore a striking resemblance to a gorilla in its facial features. Now, it's possible that the truth behind the Old Man of the Sea could be hidden within a myriad of theories. There's speculation that the creature could be an elephant seal, an oversized salmon, or even a rare deep-sea oarfish, which coincidentally also boasts a red mane similar to some of the descriptions. Others believe it could be an out-of-place marine animal or merely a misidentified piece of floating debris. However, none of these explanations align flawlessly with the accounts provided by those who claim to have seen the creature. Now, as time went on, the sightings of the Old Man of the Sea would gradually fade away, with no real new reports emerging after the 1940s. Now, interestingly, during the same period of time, there were other encounters with the creature, all in the vicinity of Santa Cruz, a location often associated with the Monterey Bay area. In 1925, a man named E.J. Lear narrated his experience to the Santa Cruz Sentinel, recalling how he had been driving along the coast when he witnessed a commotion out on the water. To his astonishment, a group of sea lions appeared to be engaged in a fierce battle with an unidentifiable creature, further deepening the mystery of the elusive beings said to inhabit the same bay. I was driving a team toward Capitola when suddenly I was attracted by some young sea lions not far out. They were lined up and several large lions were swimming back and forth in front of them. Much further out, I saw the water being churned to a foam and thrown high up in the air. It was shiny, and I took it for a big fish. A dozen or more lions were battling it, and every once in a while, all would rise out of the water. It looked to me as though all the sea lions were attacking it beneath as the monster came out of the water several times. In telling of the battle of that night, I estimated its length at 30 feet. The battle continued as long as I could see it from the road. Now, bizarre and strange sightings were not uncommon during this time. As a peculiar creature was discovered by Charles Moore, this creature would wash ashore at what is now known as Natural Bridges State Beach. The carcass was in a rancid and severely decomposed state, yet the general description mentioned an unidentified beast with a duck-like head, a lengthy neck, a whale-like tail, and elephantine legs complete with toenails. However, descriptions would vary depending on the publication. The size of the creature was also a topic of debate, as some sources estimated its length to be more around 30 feet, with others claiming it was closer to 50 or more. The serpentine neck's length ranged from 6 to 20 feet, depending on the account. News reports from that time mentioned that the man named E.L. Wallace, who was a respected naturalist and former president of the Natural History Society of British Columbia, had examined the body. It was his conclusion that the creature could have been a type of plesiosaur, which is a long-necked marine reptile thought to have gone extinct roughly 65 million years ago. My examination of the monster was quite thorough. I felt in its mouth and I found it had no teeth. Its head is large and its neck is fully 20 feet long. The body is weak and the tail is only 3 feet in length from the end of the backbone. These facts do away with the whale theory, as the backbone of a whale is far larger than any bone in this animal. Again, its tail is too weak for an animal of the deep and does away with the last version. With a bill like it possesses, it must have lived on herbage. I would call it a type of plesiosaur. You can imagine that during those times, these reports stirred up quite a frenzy and would capture the public's imagination. People gazed with wide-eyed wonder, believing that dinosaurs still ruled the oceans. I mean, to be fair, Wallace thought that the creature might have been regurgitated by a melting glacier, where it had been encased in ice. However, a few years later, an article in November of 1929 edition of the Journal of Mammalogy presented a more down-to-earth and mundane explanation. A Dr. Barton Warren Everman of the California Academy of Sciences came in to investigate the carcass and had the skull shipped off to California Academy of Sciences. Upon closer examination, it was discovered to be that of a Baird's beaked whale. Now, according to this report, the carcass had merely appeared more mysterious due to its advanced stage of decomposition, which can indeed make carcasses look quite strange. Now, as for the numerous varying descriptions of this mysterious beast, this was simply attributed to exaggeration, sensationalism, overexcitement, misidentification, and, most likely, a strong desire on the part of the newspapers to sell more copies. Now, the truth, it seemed, was far less fantastical than the stories that had really captured the public's attention. Now, Wallace, who was the so-called respected naturalist, surely would have known the difference between a beaked whale and a plesiosaur, wouldn't he? Well, the intriguing part is that there's never been any evidence to show that this man ever existed. He seems to be a mere shadow, an entity conjured up by the newspapers for their own gains. I mean, of course, there are those who believe that a cover-up was involved, which is possible, and they argue that Wallace's account was the true version and the meddling California Academy of Sciences wanted to bury what would have been the most astonishing zoological discovery of the century. But whom should one trust? The seemingly non-existent naturalist who claimed it was a sea-going dinosaur, or the respected, very real Journal and Scientific Institute? Well, the truth, it seems, is an elusive creature that may never fully be revealed. The Monterey Bay is a realm of breathtaking beauty and diverse marine life, widespread secrets of undiscovered creatures lurking in its depths. In fact, one of the world's largest underwater canyons, the Monterey Canyon, or Monterey Submarine Canyon, meandered through the same area, stretching nearly 249 miles in length and plunging a mile deep into the abyss. This canyon was a cradle of life, supporting a vast array of marine organisms and holding the promise of species yet to be discovered. Now, the bay itself, teeming with rich food resources and nutrients, was a sanctuary for a multitude of species, including harbor seals, elephant seals, dolphins, whales, and sea otters. An ecosystem like this really opens up the possibility and capacity to sustain a large marine organism. So, what do you guys think? Are there really sea monsters out there? Well, we've yet to find out. But more importantly, I want to know what you guys think. So be sure to let me know what you think down in the comments below. I would love to read them. Also, if you guys are a fan of storytelling of the mysterious and supernatural, go ahead and slap that like and subscribe button for content just like this. As always, I love you all, keep an open mind, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode.